Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, let's get this up. Welcome to day 3, everyone. This was actually the day that I was looking forward to most. I know tomorrow's going to bring everything together and your minds are going to go like, oh my God, this all makes sense when it's together. And I'm going to say yes. Yes, it does make way more sense when it's all together. And today was the day that I was looking forward to. I'm going to be honest. Boom. Okay. Awesome. Hello, Sandra. Hello, everyone that's making their way here. Okay, are we ready for day 3? Nicole says that she's here. Nicole, you've been absolutely cracking me up. Nicole, must have done yesterday, just like all the pre-works, all the homeworks, all the everything. And I just got like a stream of notifications. Nicole, done. Nicole, done. Nicole, done. Nicole. I'm like, yeah, this woman's on a mission. I love this. It was making me laugh. Hello, Kim. Hi, Tashi. Tashi, you emailed us, and it gets me every time because Lucas is like, Natasha P has emailed us, and I was like, who is Natasha? We don't have a Natasha P. And then I'm like, oh, it's Tashi. Just so used to calling you Tashi. Hello, Anthony. Boston is ready for day 3. Love to hear it. Hello, Laura, Lauren, Jessica, Julia, Melanie. Oh, Melanie, alive. Amazing. Brilliant. Okay, let's go straight. Let's go straight and let's do what we're going to do. So, day 3 is all about soul and karma. Day 3 is all about how the soul manifests and there's 2 basically big parts of the conversation that I want to have. So it's how the soul manifests and it's karma, but it's also the blueprint that we've all got, right? Now, before I go into that, I want to quickly go through some of the homeworks from yesterday. Lots and lots and lots of you guys have sent the homework to me and Nika via the Facebook chat, which is absolutely fine. If it's something a bit sensitive that you don't want everyone to see, if it's something that you're personally processing, there's absolutely no problem with that. Just expect a response later today because we've got a lot of messages, which I absolutely love because it shows that you guys are taking this really seriously and actually applying this. But I'm going to pick a couple of the examples from the people that shared on the group, because I'm going to assume that if you shared on the thread within the group space, that's because you're okay with it, okay? I'm not going to pick anyone that has dropped a personal message for obvious reasons. Hello, Tanya. Nicole, should we be sending our homework or is it okay to keep it private? Ideal for someone to see it, because this is part of the game. It's like the vulnerability thing. It's ideal to either send it to my Facebook chat if you don't feel comfortable popping it within the group, which I understand. And I know some of you guys have got, like, when I go into these community spaces, because I've got a lot of clients and it's healthy to have a level of boundary, I might not drop everything in, right? And so that's why the chat is absolutely fine if you want to hold that line for yourself. But if it does feel like an edge to share it and someone to see it, I do actually invite you to share it. Because we can't actually grow without this radical responsibility, and we can't actually grow if we don't let people in and we don't ask for help, right? And so I think a lot of us, especially people that tend to find their way to my spaces, are high achieving or highly I want to use the word functional. That sounds like such a weird word to use, but people that are used to being seen in, like, she's the one that's got it all together, he's the one that's got it all together. And so then it can feel like an edge to be seen in our messiness and our imperfection. And so if that is you, again, I'm going to invite you to share. Now, it's your choice in the end. But just know everything is confidential that you send me. I do not judge you. I'm literally like, you judge you. Like, lots of people say, oh, you're going to think that. I'm like, I actually think none of that. My whole function is to see what you guys can't see. And if, I'm not getting a whole picture, then I can't do that. But to be clear, I won't coach you in the chat because that's a paid experience, right? It's just helpful to share there, and I might share a couple of things that I see instantly. All right, so who else have we got? Hi, Kate, Ariana, amazing, Jessica B. We've got lots of Jessicas, so I put a surname initial, so it's clear on my brain. Roddy, yeah, it's you, Tashi. Amazing. Okay, let's go. Yeah, Nicole's like, I played catch up. I saw her. I was like, ding, Nicole, ding, Nicole, ding, Nicole. I was like, wow, Nicole, you are on a mission today, and I love to see it. So let's just anchor in a little bit of yesterday and then go straight into what we're going to do today, right? So yesterday, what I asked you to do was to pick a goal, right? A goal that felt like an edge, a goal that felt stretchy. Because if you're going to pick something you already have done, you're a match to that. Do you know what I mean? Everything that exists in your reality, you're a match to already. That's law. You don't need to work on that, right? You've done that. So we pick a goal because it's going to mean that you have to go on a process, a hero's journey, right? We're going to talk about that today. So we pick the goal that's an edge because you're going to have to be bigger than your current space. It's going to initiate a process of evolution, right? And it's also going to bring up your stuff, your beliefs that are incongruent with that next step. So that's the function of it, right? I then asked you guys to share the belief systems, right? And then some of you finished the final part and some of you didn't. And I thought that was interesting because some of you identified the unsupportive beliefs and then we just left it there. Now, I wonder if that's resistance to transformation. That's something that you can inquire within yourself. Resistance to change, which is totally normal. And, right, we want to make sure that we take it to the finish line, that we don't just begin the exercise and kind of leave everything like up, right? We want to make sure we get to completion, right? And so I'm going to just do that with, actually, Kate, I'm going to use yours because it's the first one that comes up, right? Just so we can see why and what happens, right? So unsupportive beliefs, and I love that you guys are echoing this language, unsupportive beliefs, unhelpful beliefs, right? Because I don't want you guys being getting into the energy of like, oh, I'm naughty, I'm bad, I should be further along, like, because then that just becomes another belief that compounds, right? So you're not bad for being where you are. It's actually, where you are is excellent. So let's accept that first, right? It's just this language that's a bit more neutralizing. It's unhelpful, it's unsupportive for where I'm going, but it doesn't mean anything about me, right? And so the goal that Kate went was a financial goal by December, okay? And the beliefs that came up, let's pick this one. Oh, let's pick this one. This is my absolute motherfucking favorite, right? Because this came up for me so bad when we got over 7 figures, right? I didn't know that this existed in me until I made money. And this is a karmic thing. It's like sometimes the soul, like we have different soul lines of destiny that we may or may not manifest because our specific soul has got to learn something from that experience, right? And so for me, for example, the wealth journey has been amazing because I've had to really look at my attachment and my fear of loss, right? And I allowed myself to have, and then when I had, I was like, oh my God, it's not even rational, it doesn't make sense, but I'm so frightened of losing it all because I like my life so much. My life is so good. What if it was taken away, right? And there were a couple of things underneath that, you know, the loss of my mum in a time that felt too young, even though on the level of the soul it was perfect. We'll talk about that later, right? And other things, and you know, big beliefs in my family around wealth. My father came from a wealthy family in the Second World War. They bombed the factory that they owned, so they went from massive, like, old English house having, you know, servant quarters and, you know, like it, you know, being one of the families in the region, that extreme, to losing everything, having to send the kids to boarding school where they had to ask people, and they never regained the money again, right? So sometimes the things that we've got in our body that come up around the goals are ours, they're our families, or their past life. And I'm going to talk about past lives today. And for some of you guys that experience skepticism around it, just be with me until the end of the session and then decide what you think. But just be with me. Remember, curious, not judgmental, just for this hour. Okay? So the belief that came up for Kate is it's safer to have less because there's nothing that can be taken away. Right? And so this is a really, really interesting belief system because one of two things can happen. And we have to remember, beliefs have different expressions depending on the person who's holding the belief. So for me, right, the belief of it can be taken away, I allowed myself to have the things, but then I had the things and I was really scared. Like a fear that I'd never felt before in my life, you know? And there was part of me that just thought, fuck it, I should just leave it all, don't do this, you know, like just go and live in a safe life where no one can be mean to me and I've got nothing to lose. And I had to really work through this because if I'd not worked through it, I would have lost everything. Not because, you know, that was my destiny, but because I had this sneaky little belief system. That's one way that it can express. Another way that it can express is that you never allow yourself to have the goal. You start the thing, you pause the thing. You begin, you buy the program, you leave the program. You go to market and then it starts working and then boom, ceiling comes in. Oh, I'm going to go do something else. I get distracted, right? And we can tell ourselves, oh, I'm just not disciplined, right? Or I just really struggle with discipline. We can go into this because we have this kind of thinking that discipline solves everything. But actually this belief system underneath is what's creating, right? And so I'm just going to put this through the questions. And Kate, if you were happy to, by the way, that's not what Kate shared. She shared the belief and then I dramatized it. And the reason that I do that is probably partly because I'm Spanish and I like to make things larger than life, and I'm a dramatic person, but also when we make something dramatic and we make it bigger and we make it almost like a cartoon, then mind goes, oh, that makes sense, right? So the first question is, let me get it here. The first question is this actually true, right? It's safe to have less because then nothing can be taken away. Is this true? Well, firstly, even if you've got less, it can still be taken away. So it's not true. Anything can be taken away at any moment. Having less, does it protect you from it? No. Or does it just protect you from actually having what you want? So the answer to the first question is this actually true? No. But the ego's funny. The ego will say, well, it feels true, right? So then we ask again, can I be absolutely sure that it's true? And the reason that we ask this is because the answer to that is no, you cannot be absolutely sure it's true. And so the context that I give here, you know, we do this exercise called fact versus story in our certification program, and it's amazing. We're going to be doing it next week when I've got a few clients here in person for a kind of a VIP Cert experience, right? I said to my clients once, and Camille, if you're watching this later, Camille actually just signed an amazing deal, which is really exciting today, which is a nice commission amount. And I said, well, how can we know if something's a fact? And she gave me the best, like, it's so good. I would have never thought of it myself. She goes, well, in court, would everyone be on one side, right? Then we know it's a fact. My name is Hannah. If I went to a courtroom, there's not going to be a discussion about this. There isn't going to be two sides, right? I have hair. Fact. Fucking debate that. You can't, right? Well, you could go into subjective, emotional, mental. You've got too much hair. You've got not enough hair. Like, I don't think any of you guys would say I've got not enough. Every time I go to the hairdressers, they're like, wow, you've got a lot of hair, right? So is it actually true? Can I absolutely be sure it's true? No. How do I act when I believe this thought? Now, I started playing that out for you guys. Let me just check the chat. Let's see. Is it gonna let me see? The great fun of this whole experience has been, will it let me see the chat or will it not? Okay, hi Natalia, hi Sarah, hi Julie, and everyone else. Okay, if you guys have put anything else there for whatever delightful reason, it doesn't let me see it. Okay, no, it's not true. Yes, I imagine that this is the root of the unsupportive belief, losing my mum so young. Yeah, exactly, and being adopted. 100%. When you experience a loss, especially at such a young age, Kate, like there's going to be programming around it. And very often it's going to be fear of what else you're going to lose, right? So how do you act? How do you act when you believe that it's safer to have less because if I've got more, I can lose it? How do you behave? And if you guys resonate with this as well, think about it and throw it into the chat. Like, how do you behave if you believe that? Yeah, being inconsistent. So what I talked to before, right? Being inconsistent, 100%. Start something, end something. Sabotaging when it gets too good. Hesitancy, yeah, not going all in, not committing, not backing yourself because you're actually frightened of allowing what you want, not letting the work work. I allow a certain amount of success and then I stop doing the things that created it. 100%. Amazing. And what's really cool is that when we have a community and we have people that are willing to share their things, we can go, oh my God, I do that as well. And then just other people's breakthroughs can become our own breakthroughs, which is why I love all of this work done in a community space, a shared human space, right? Procrastinating, Kate's put, yeah, exactly, staying small, 100%. So Kate, where are you going to be on the business, on the finances in 2-3 years if we keep operating from that belief? Because each belief, like we spoke to yesterday, has a timeline, right? And we can go, oh, it's just a little thought. And we don't have to be cruel to ourselves. But is it just a little thought? Hi, Thea, darling. Where will you be in 2-3 years? You'll probably be having the experience of up, down, up, down. Oh, I allow myself to have the thing, no more thing. I allow myself to have the thing, no more thing, right? How exhausting. And to bring this back to the physical body, which we talked about, like chronic fight or flight, leading to what we don't want in our life, right? Which can be health problems, stress-related problems. What can create chronic fight or flight? These belief patterns, these cycles that we play out. And I say we as a human being on this journey with you, right? I'll still be coasting when I know what I want and can create beyond this. Yes, 100%. Who could I be? Yeah, it would be frustrating and tiring, exactly. Who could I be without this thought? And this is the final contemplation that I want to leave you on. Who could I be without this thought? It's so simple and yet it's so profound. And yes, there are deeper modalities we can do to create actual neurological change and emotional change and all of this stuff, right? But if you become someone that questions your thoughts and asks yourself, who could I be without this? That is such a massive chunk of transformation. Who could I be without the thought that it's safer to have less? Let's just leave it at that. Oh my God, I could finally allow myself to get what I want and to get off the hamster wheel. I've taught manifestation for a long period of time and I've seen many, many human patterns. One of them is people's addiction to the journey, the yearning, the not having, the being in process. And it's usually because of some of these niggly little beliefs. Because there's fear of actually having it, receiving it, being it, and what we associate the having of the thing with. For Kate, it could be loss. For me, it was loss. That's not really a fear for me. But for me, the fear was, oh my God, so many people are going to see me. So many people are going to see me. And they might not like me. And they might think I'm this, and they might think I'm that. And so there was a period of time where I contracted because I thought, oh, do you know what's going to be safer? I'm not going to say anything that could upset anyone. I'm not going to allow my success to skyrocket. I'm going to tone myself down. And do you know what happened? It was so annoying. People didn't like me anyway, some of them. There are people that do. And I realized, oh, I've just sabotaged my success and put a cap on it. And I didn't actually even protect myself from the thing that I wanted to avoid. And that was a soul journey moment, which I'll speak to now, that actually liberated me. And I allowed myself to take the cap off again, the cap off the goal, right? So make sure for everyone, if you do the homework, that you put it through those questions at the end and then start playing with the possibility that if you let these beliefs go, right, and you clean this up, and this is the work that I do with people, there is a whole new reality that's available that you will have never experienced, because these belief systems have probably been operating in you since day dot. Yeah. Exactly, Kate. The version of me who trusts that I can handle loss. So profound. Because you can, and you have. And that amazing things don't actually mean loss yet. And even if there is loss, it doesn't take away of how great the thing was. Many people don't allow themselves to love because they're so terrified of losing. Many people don't allow themselves to invest money because they're so terrified of losing. Many people don't really allow themselves to go for their goals because they're so terrified of it not working and being disappointed. So what they do is that they just create absolutely no traction in their life, and they just stay where they are. It's just a belief. And it's safe to sustain great love, business, health, and finances. Beautiful, amazing. Let's go in to what we're doing today. Okay? Let's go in to the soul's journey. So, we've talked about the physical body, the emotional, mental body, and we're going into the soul's journey. Now, someone got quite upset with me in my marketing, which I'm quite humoured by, actually talking about the being seen and that being a big thing. I've done a lot of reprogramming work. I have done, talking about like what part of me needs to die for the new dream to be born. That was the part of me that just wanted to be unseen yet successful. Like the part of me that was so frightened, really frightened. Anyway, so I put up a post, and the post talked about past lives being key to manifestation, right? And you know, with marketing, it's like, you know, people have the attention spans of like 2 to fucking 3 seconds, right? So if you don't get someone intrigued, especially with an ad or something like this, because you've never seen me before, then I've lost the game, right? I'm just like, I'm not going to get people to listen to the actual content. So we put up activating posts that create responses in people. And one of them was something like, past lives is the secret weapon to manifestation. I don't know, something like that, like a bold statement, right? And it's meant to go, oh, what's she talking about? I've not heard someone say that. Well, I wonder what she's going to say, like that. Anyway, I got a comment saying, well, time is not linear. And I laugh because this person's probably a brilliant person, and they just had a reactive moment. And I've had a reactive moment, and you've probably all had a reactive moment. So I'm not taking it personally, and I no longer need to be liked by everyone. So it doesn't create anything within me, right? And I said to her, you know, the past life is the frame that we're going to use to understand a concept. Anyway, she went and wrote posts about, if you talk about past lives, I don't believe you're a manifestation coach, and it's got to be the nonlinear theory. And the thing is, the conversation about time is not linear is an energetic conversation, and it belongs in the energy body. And so we have to remember that when we come to each body, it's like we're taking a set of glasses, right? And we're putting the glasses on, and we're looking through the glasses, and we're looking at the physical body, right? Everything is as it's seen. It's the manifest, right? There's nothing else to life. It's just what you see. Just do it, right? Would be the business, like, logo of the physical body. It's very pragmatic. It's non-emotional. There's no suffering. It's just manifested reality, right? But if we take off the physical body glasses, which were red, and we put on the emotional mental body, which is emotional, it's like nothing is as it seems. It's not so simple to do the things. What if they don't like me? Like, right, that's the emotional mental body, which has a part, right? That has a part of our reality. And so that's all the work of what in me needs to die for the next thing to be born, right? Now, the soul's body, let's say the soul's body, by the way, these colors aren't the legit colors. I'm just using them for reference so we can understand mentally, because if we don't understand a concept mentally, we can't live it physically, right? So we take the soul's glasses, and let's say the soul's glasses are gold, right? And we put them on, right? So the soul's glasses, the viewpoint, the lens, the perspective from the level of the soul is that time is linear, firstly, right? But it's also that we are on an eternal journey of the soul, right? We're on an eternal journey of the soul. And that means that we will have various physicalized lives to learn things. And that the journey of the soul is about our growth and our evolution, right? And I'll come back to this. Now, what I will say is for some of you guys, you're super spiritual, you're like, yay, past lives. So you might feel very passionately about energetic concepts and parallel lives. And for some of you guys, you're going to be super skeptical and you're going to be people that maybe haven't been in these conversations, right? And it's going to be an edge to even contemplate this, right? What I will say is that science has actually started exploring the past life concept. And I personally find that fascinating. I find the study of death and past lives fascinating. Now, if you ask my father whether that was interesting, he would tell you absolutely not. If you ask Craig, my partner, if that was interesting, he would say absolutely not. But I'm going to assume that there might be a slight bit of curiosity from people here. The studies looking at past lives, which it's hard to study past lives, right? Bear in mind, we don't have access after death. It's not something that's easily to do in a controlled sample study. So what they've had to do is more surveying children that have past life memory. And unbelievably, there was a 2005 study, University of Virginia, you guys can Google it, where they found 2,500 cases of children recalling accurate details of past lives, names, events, places, which were then verified. And there's documentaries on this. You guys can watch it. It's insane. There's this boy and he's got, all of these World War II small boy memories, and they thought that, he was making it up, and then they actually traced it and verified it, and it was correct, right? And so just contemplate its possibility. And again, at the end of this, you can decide whether it was helpful for you or not helpful for you. Even if you believe it's true or not true, just ask, is this a helpful frame? So from the shamanic perspective, right, we're having these lives to learn lessons and grow. So yes, having things is lovely. Manifesting things, delightful. But the function of life is not to manifest things, right? The manifesting things is the byproduct of learning the lessons and growing. Right? And so the ultimate soul's journey, if we bring in Kabbalah, and so you guys will notice that I blend a lot of things. Even though I've called this the Shamanic Map, it's because the basic framework is shamanism, but I've studied so many different bodies of work to get here. Many hours, because Craig said it to me this morning, who's my partner. He goes, sometimes I wish I was like you, Hannah. Like, I can just sit and study something, and I've had to learn to not do this in terms of health. Like, I've actually got to get up and move my body and shake and eat some food, but I'm like stick into something and then I'm just obsessed for 13 years, right? And I don't get bored. I don't know, right? That's my blueprint. But anyway, if you look at Kabbalah, I love their frame on past lives. They take it further, and maybe shamanic perspectives take it further as well, right? And maybe you guys will have more knowledge in that. But their perspective is when the soul first comes about, so we've got the all, everything, right? And then the soul is the unique expression. The soul is unique. It's not, we are everything. We are from an energetic perspective, but from a soul perspective, we are this unique thing, right? This unique intelligence that goes from life to life. Now, in the perspective of Kabbalah, at the beginning, right, of our life journey, we are density, we are darkness, right? And the process of the soul is to manifest its darkness so it can have the experience of experiencing it, but also turning it into light. So when you look at what we talk about as enlightenment, maybe in more yogic traditions, if we look at it through the eyes of Kabbalah, enlightenment is actually the manifestation of your darkness. That sounds very dramatic. I'll explain that in a second. The manifestation of your darkness, so you have got the opportunity to alchemize it into light, right? And I just think it's interesting if we look at the language used here, right? In shamanism, when you begin learning the processes, they're called illuminations. If we look at the book, The Alchemist, right? He goes on this journey where he experiences parts of himself and he turns that into light, he turns that into purpose, he turns that into all of the things that happen, right? If we look at even the word alchemy, alchemy is the process in which we take dark matter and we turn it into gold. Now, your life is the physicalized process of that. So when we look at manifestation from the lens of the soul, We understand that we have to, by the very function of how life works, manifest our darkness so that we can alchemize it and on the other side get what we want. Now, when we talk about darkness and shadow, we go, oh, it's going to be all these terrible things about me. No, it's your belief systems and your emotions and your patterns and your ancestral stuff that isn't in alignment to what you want. It's the work from yesterday, right? So, you know, when we look at manifestation from the eyes of the soul, there's great peace, because it's like everything is as it should be. Everything that you're experiencing in your life right now is perfect, because you are going to be able to look at parts of yourself that you did not know existed and heal them, alchemize them, and that's going to take you to the next level, right? That's the function. So if we look at me, right, get to 7 figures and everyone's like, oh, big milestone. And then suddenly two people tried to blackmail me. Just all sorts of things that I was not equipped to deal with internally. Practically probably was, internally not, right? And so it was this kind of like really challenging time for me. But I learned all of these things about myself that I didn't know prior. I learned I'm scared of loss. I learned, oh, I'm terrified of allowing myself to have money in case there's something legal. Oh, I'm terrified of, and then all of those things manifested. What if I get all this success and then people don't know who I am and they don't trust who my heart, and they don't, but you know, all of this stuff. And so I manifested it all. But that's what set me free. And on the level of the soul, that was exactly perfect for the next level of the business, right? So this is super important. This is super duper important when we talk about manifestation. It's ridiculously important, because the way that mainstream manifestation is taught, or the misconception, because all good manifestation teachers speak to this, right? But the misconception is, I'm good at manifestation if everything is always working at all times, right? No, your life is a mirror to you. And it's going to be a mirror of the things that you've worked on, and yay, give yourself a gold fucking star, well done you. But it's also going to be a mirror of things within yourself that you have got to work on. And it's always going to be both, because in kind of this lens, it is kind of like, I learn this, I go to this, I learn this, I go to this, I learn this, I go to this. And if you get the lessons, each next level is even more expansive than what came prior. Right? So manifestation, and we have to remember this, isn't actually about having things. It's about becoming the version of you that is congruent to the things. It's about your journey of becoming. And your journey of becoming will have experiences that will challenge you. And it doesn't show you that you're doing it wrong. It's giving you the information that you needed to make the internal changes to get what you want. But what you want is the byproduct of the journey of becoming that you've come on, right? And becoming the version is, on the physical level, you know, foundations that can hold it. Business foundations, personal foundations, physical foundations. It's the emotional and mental work, whilst knowing that you will manifest things in your life to become a version of you that could not have existed prior. So an example for this is, I see this in my clients all of the time, and I see it in myself. They're like, I'm going to manifest love, and then they manifest a terrible relationship. I'm going to get a great job, and then they get a job, and they think it's the thing, and then actually they learn a lot of things about themselves. They realize that it's not the thing, right? And they go, oh, the manifestation didn't work. Has anyone ever done that? The manifestation didn't work. This is not what it was meant to look like. Yeah, because you're on the journey to having the real thing, but you've got to experience what it's not, which is actually a match to you, and change that to get to what you want. The way that manifestation works is that, and this will make more sense with tomorrow's teachings, when you have a desire, right, and you cast it energetically, which we are all doing at all times through thoughts and feelings and yearnings, right, life responds to it. And it will, if you're a match to it, so it's a goal that you've already had, okay, I've worked in this role, I want to get another job in this role. Life's going to be like, there you go, right? There's no evolution that has to happen there. But if you're expanding your reality and you're someone that wants to always go up, I am that type of person, right? And I work with people that are that type of person, then you may have an initial phase after the desire where you manifest what you don't want, because you've got to manifest the blocks, you've got to project them on your life to heal them. The soul will manifest the bad things, not that they are bad, on the way. Now, here's the thing. To go from desire, manifest what I don't like, get what I want, you have to heal. You have to do the inner work. But what people do is they have the divorce, right? They have the job that they thought was going to be the thing and it wasn't. They meet the partner who doesn't end up being what they thought it was going to be, or just something happens. Like, you know, the soul will create all sorts of things. Someone steals something from you. Someone blackmails you. Like, you know, in my private VIP groups, I'm super honest with my clients about kind of what's happened behind the scenes to support people through it, because these things do fucking happen, and people are so obsessed with looking perfect on the outside that no one talks about it. And so people feel like if it happens to them, they're failing, that they're doing it wrong. And so people identify with the divorce. It was bad, it was wrong. And then that identification means they create more of it. People identify with the bad thing. People identify with the illness. People identify with the relationship breaking down. People identify with the cash dip. People identify with whatever happens. And they get lost. And that becomes this downward spiral. And they don't realize that this thing was meant to happen to take you here. But because you got lost here, you're now going down here. And people can be there for years, lifetimes. And so we snap out of this by asking one question. And this question is uncomfortable. How is this thing that I don't like exactly the perfect thing for my growth and my evolution to get what I want? I started contemplating this question, right, while my mum was dying. And it was a radical thing to contemplate, because everyone around me was, and I had this realization, you know, and I was young. I was thinking to myself, my mum got terminal cancer when I was 23, and she passed away when I was 26. The month later, I was 27. So we're talking, yeah, a big chunk of time. And initially, my initial feeling was, you know, these thoughts that come up, why me? Right? I was seeing all my friends and they were like working in London with these amazing jobs, and they were earning all this money, or they were traveling and they were having fun, and I was going to hospital again and again and again, and I had health problems and I didn't have a lot of money. And there was part of me that was like, you know, when I heard this question, how is this exactly the right thing for my growth and evolution to go? I was thinking, fuck you. Do you know what I mean? Fuck you. Fuck personal development. And it can feel like that sometimes. You don't know my fucking pain. I'll tell you about how my thing is worse than your thing. That's what the ego does. What do you mean? Perfect thing. And I had to work really hard internally to not get lost in those thoughts. And I kept coming back to, how is this the perfect thing? How is this the perfect thing? How is this the perfect thing? And it became an inquiry that many people around me didn't understand. And I remember thinking to myself, well, if I create something beautiful from this experience, then it will have all been worth it. I get to honor her life and legacy. I get to honor my mother. I had a very, very close relationship with my mother. Extremely, extremely, right? I'm very similar to my mother in many ways. I'm very, not similar. That's not good English, but you know what I mean, to my mother in other ways. And because of this contemplation, this bad thing, right? Which I think we can all agree, you know, my dad had cancer when I was 15. He was in, treatments. And then he survived, obviously, and he's still here. Do you know what my dad used to say? I don't believe that I've actually got cancer. I believe the hospital has made a mistake. I'm just going through treatment so I don't upset them. And then it never came back. That's a true story. My dad used to say to me, I'm the kind of man that a plane crash could happen and I'd be the only survivor. And he believes it so much, right? And, you know, I look at him at 77 and I go, well, those beliefs have done you well, you know? He'd be like, I'd be the only survivor, Hannah. And me and my sister would look at him. But in distinction, that wasn't the belief systems my mum had. And I'm not going to get into that, right? But I think we can all agree, you know, dad had cancer at 15, mum had cancer from when I was 19, became terminal when I was 23, and she passed away when I was 1 month prior to 27. That, not ideal. Like, not an ideal start. Because those are really formative years, right? And a lot of people could have created victimization around that. But I knew that if I did that, that could ruin my life. Not the event, not my mum being ill could ruin my life. My perception of it could ruin my life. And that's the thing that you have to hear. And so I went, okay, for whatever reason, my soul's been like, you need to have this experience, right? And I might not understand that. I don't have to understand that, but I can trust it. And so if that's true, what am I going to do? And so I started being like, well, okay, all I've learned in personal development and wellness, I'm going to start sharing it. And I did that for a year after my mum died. I put together these one-to-one journeys and I put so much time into them. I didn't realize I was building integrative healing. And like, you know, I'd study things. I'd go to these courses like, you know, the medicine wheel and shamanism. And I'd come back and I'd write all my notes out 6 times to learn them. I'd do all these practices. Like, you know, I must have looked like some kind of absolutely wild woman to those around me. But I was like, you know, it was this decision. And if I look back now, honestly, I can say, hand on my heart, that illness was the best thing that happened to me. I wouldn't have my relationship. I wouldn't have the global uni. I wouldn't have my brand. I wouldn't have the finances. I wouldn't have my internal development. You know, it was challenging in my 20s because I didn't feel like someone in their 20s. I felt like what I'd been through, right, made it very hard for me to relate to people of my age. Right? And it was different for me and my sister because I was the eldest, right? We know how that plays out. So I took on a lot of responsibility for better or for worse, right? And, you know, I remember thinking in my 20s, like really just struggling to relate to people my age and that being a big thing, right? But that pushed me to hanging out with people that are older, Craig is 10 years older than me. And it pushed me into these different spaces, which took me to business building, which took me to, and now I'm really grateful. And so what I want you to hear from this is whatever thing you go through, yes, be sad about it. Yes, process your emotions. Yes, go and do the emotional mental body work. But then contemplate. What if this is the perfect thing to get me to the next level? What if what's coming next is so great that I had to experience this? But if you stay in the thought, you are spiritually bypassing. I love you, or you're spiritually fucking bypassing. Oh, everything is always happening for me. So many people say that, but they don't fucking do anything with it. If this was the best thing that happened from you, what would you do next? That's the thing that actually matters. That's the thing that requires you to be uncomfortable, to do the next thing, to create something different from it. Whether that's looking at the patterns within you that were a match to that experience. Now, with something like someone's, you know, cancer diagnosis, it's less about, oh, I was a match to that experience, and more about, well, through that experience, what did I learn about myself? And I learned many fun things, like I very much played the martyr. And if I continued playing the martyr, it'd make me very sick. I would not be running the company that I've got now. I'd be extremely burnt out, right? So all those things I learned through, but I took responsibility for them and I alchemized them. And I very consciously went on that soul's journey from darkness to gold, right? Now, just because that's happened doesn't mean there aren't going to be other things in my life. But in soul's journey, right, this whole thing, it's like, yes, but I can deal with them. Yes, they might hurt, but I can deal with pain. Yes, I might be disappointed, but I can deal with disappointment. It's the opposite of what we're taught. We're taught, like, you know, bury stuff down and plow on. That doesn't change anything. You're going to manifest something else bigger to look at your stuff, right? If you ignore it, it doesn't go away. The lesson is just more painful. right? And so something that we have to note in manifestation, let me just check the comments. Hello, Alexander. Yeah, loving this, manifesting the blocks to the thing we need to clear. I made a decision after one day to share something I've been hiding. I saw that. That was profound. All good about the driving. That's exactly where I am. Yeah, I thought that, Sandra, and I thought this would help you. Yes, exactly, Dulce. I say your name as if you were Spanish. That might be very wrong. And I'll come back to that in a second, right? Amazing. This is exactly where I'm at. My 3-year-old daughter has just finished cancer treatment. Yeah. Whew. And I find this question difficult, but it's massively helpful. And it's changed how I want to and live my life completely. Yeah, amazing. Okay. So I'll come back to these in a second, right? So this comes to, you know, what Dulce shared, which I'm saying if it was Spanish name, I don't think it is, which actually means sweet in Spanish. So what also manifests is our soul blueprint. And this is what links to past lives and to the evolution. So in our soul blueprint, imagine we're on this journey of lives, right? Which, by the way, past lives are a big part of many, many ancient texts, right? And within these past lives, there are things that we do that create karma. Now, karma isn't this, again, it's like turning your darkness into light. Like karma makes it sound like just something terrible, but karma is just the law of cause and effect. So what we do unto another, we must experience in ourselves, right? Or just the consequence of our actions, right? And so in our life, we come with the consequences to our actions in previous lives, right? But we also come with something that's called soul genetics. And not many people speak to this. Now, we've heard about genetics in terms of physical body. So we've got to understand we're in an individual physical body, right? And there are genetics. And from studies, we can see that our genetics basically lead to about 50% of personality, talents, and individuality, roughly. Epigenetics accounts for the rest, right? And epigenetics is basically the study of the gene expression within the environment, right? And so I've done trainings on this before, and we can go really deep into this if you look at the work of Bruce Lipton, who's a cell biologist, right? Who became spiritual through his study of biology. It's very interesting. The expression of, you could be born with genetics and a predisposition to illness, but the environment in which that gene is in basically switches on and off the expression of the illness, right? And the environment is from womb, right, to the thoughts that you have, to the feelings that you have, to the foods that you eat, to all of these things impact the expression of these genes. Now, it's the same for our individual soul, right? We've got physical body, we've also got soul. And the soul has genetics. I don't know if you want to call it that, but it's a helpful frame, right? And so that genetic blueprint, just like the physical blueprint, can be experienced in many levels. Now, the example that I use with this is the one that I use with Craig. We're going to go about 10-15 minutes over, by the way, today, guys. I've just looked at the time. And if you can stay, that's awesome. If you can't, that's fine. You can watch the replay later, right? Now, this example I use with Craig. So for those of you guys that haven't seen my partner, he's 6'3", you can see my head, and like I'm 5'3", right? So he's a much bigger physical person than me. He's ex-military, he's a big boy, and he trains a fucking shit ton, right? And so there's two things that lead to his physical disposition. Like, he's naturally strong. There's a genetic physical gene that's leading to his strength, right? If I trained as much as Craig, I would not have the physicality of Craig, right? I have a different genetic structure. Firstly, I'm a woman. Secondly, you know, even if I was a man, I mean, this is completely hypothetical, I don't think I would have Craig's structure. I'm a small person, right? So Craig's got this gene, right? Let's say for physical strength. And it's funny because when you look at his astrology, his physical, you know, his soul genes and blueprints and stuff, it actually says strength, physicalized strength, which is wild. Now, this can be experienced from here to here. If Craig sat on his ass all fucking day and did nothing, his body would not look like his body does. It might look better than some other people's. It might look stronger than some other people's. He might still have a higher exercise tolerance than other people because he really does have a strength, right? But where he is, which is up here, is because of the way that he looks after his body. And so it's the same with our soul blueprint. We have gifts. Now, the expression of those gifts will not be given if there isn't the correct environment. I discovered how good I am at this work and how I can put all these pieces together for people and teach really complex things because I was put in so many situations with mental health where I wasn't given answers by the medical professionals. And then I went through this situation with my mum. So this created the environment, right, for me to experience this gift. But it can also be different, right? When I began teaching, remember, I was hired to teach personal development programs to 18-year-olds at university in Malaga when I started. It is a ride teaching personal development to 18-year-olds. It is an absolute ride. I mean, I loved it. And somehow at the end, I got voted like the best. And I was like, I don't even know how it happened. But I think maybe because I connected with them and I didn't just go blah, 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 blah. Right, I'm better than you because I'm spiritual. No, right? But anyway, the point is, when I was doing those sessions, before that, I was doing presentations. I got hired because I was doing these presentations. And I remember the first time I went and I taught on the nervous system and fight or flight and how stress leads to illness and all of these things. And I was so frightened that I literally shook. And at the end, they said, well, you're the most stressed person in the room. And they were right. I was the most stressed person in the room, right? And so sometimes people say, oh, Han, you can teach these things and it's so easy for you. And I'm like, no. There might be a gift, unique soul blueprint. But there's been a practice. There's been an actual repeated practice that's led to skill. And in 10 years, I'll be better. And in 10 years after that, I'll be even better, right? And so the soul blueprint is our gifts, the karma that we have to clear in this lifetime or learn from, the lessons, right, that we have decided to experience in this lifetime. And when you look at Vedic astrology, it is wild, the precision that can be given. And I used to be so skeptical to this. I'd be like, oh, shut up. Oh, the moon's in fucking, but I've seen too much. And it's also the shadows that we hold, which we can call the darkness. Very often, we can only experience our gifts through alchemizing our shadows. And so our blueprint shows our highest expression in this lifetime, right? The shadows, the gifts, and sometimes the unpleasant events that we go through. But also if we don't work on our blueprint, if we don't lean in and do the lessons, there's another expression that's much lower. The easiest way to know your soul blueprint, and actually with my clients, there's different ways that we do it. And one of the first things that I do with all of my clients is we look at the blueprint. Because too many people are, oh, I've been successful via this, let me teach you what I did. And actually we're all really, really different. And I'll speak to that in a second. But I was very fortunate to have a bit of an eccentric father. My father is a Norwegian crime fiction translator. At the ripe old age of 50, and I was 5 years old, he goes, I'm going to quit my teaching job. And my family was like, sir, Mr. Bartlett, are you all right? He was like, I'm going to quit my teaching job and I'm going to become a translator. And I watched that pathway as a very young person, right, which was very formative to me. And he would always say to me, don't listen to anyone else. He liked Oscar Wilde, which is like, quotes like, if everyone agrees with you, you know that you're on the wrong path. He would say, don't listen out there, Hannah, you've just got to follow your nose, which is his way of saying, very correctly, listen to your internal impulses because they're taking you to where you need to go, right? Now, the problem is in our education system, we're told if you do this safe job, you're going to do this, and then that's going to be excellent. It's going to lead you there. And I don't know if this is a story I should tell, but one of the most surprising things for me, I'm 33 and I remember being 20, I was working at the University of Salamanca on an Erasmus year, my university degree. And I had this friend and he was really, really had these shoulds pushed on him. We're very different at that point. He came from very probably controlling parents that wanted him to have the house and the baby and the money and this all this time. And, my parents were very much like, who are you, Hannah? Just feel who you are. And so at that time, I was a hippie. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just a wild little hippie. And he was like, what are you going to do after university? And I'm like, I don't know, whatever the fuck I want to do. And he had this whole life planned, right? And And he's like, but what are you going to do about money? And and all my friends would ask, what are you going to do about money? I was like, I don't know, I'll figure it out. Like, you know, it really wasn't what I was thinking about. I was thinking about, well, what do I like? What matters to me? Let me go do that. And I was pretty broke for a lot of my 20s, you know, but I actually didn't have a problem with it because I was like, yeah, I'm going to go work in a slum school in India. Let me go work with disabled children in New Zealand. Like, that was just, those were my life plans, right? But I felt these pulls, right? And it didn't make sense until I looked back and I went, oh my God, I had to do that teaching English course to learn how to teach when I was in New Zealand, and then I was working with disabled, and all of these things, I look back and I'm like, wow, this was so perfect. But no one in their right mind would have put this together as a plan. No one would be like, this is such a great 10-step plan to success, because it looks absolutely bizarre, but it was absolutely perfect. And the reason that it was perfect is that I trusted this feeling internally. And I call it following the energetic thread over what I thought I should do. Now, the great irony is that at 33, and I don't like saying this because there's so many more things to life than money, even though I do teach wealth and I do believe in wealth and I do love wealth and luxury lifestyles and all of this, right? But the very sensible people that did the things at 20, it's now 13 years later, and I actually met that guy, and he looked absolutely miserable. He had the job, he had the house, he had the baby, and I could just feel his soul was like, no, absolutely not. And the great irony is that I make a lot more money than people that followed the conventional road. And so we have this idea that if we do safe, sensible, smart things, then that's going to lead us and we're going to be safe and there's going to be no pain, because that's what we've been kind of pushed into our minds. But the truth is, the most successful path for you is your soul's blueprint. That's going to be where your most wealth is. Most wealth is, that's shit English, right? Where the majority of your wealth is, the majority of your love is, the majority of your health is, right? But that's not a one size fits all, do this and it's going to be wonderful, right? That's going to require actually learning how to listen to yourself, which is why the personal development products work are so important. Now, we've got many ways that we can actually show people using their astrology, their gene keys, their human design, their blueprints. And this is something that I do with people, especially, you know, people that come with more businessy, but you can even do your blueprint for like what nutrition suits you, what exercise suits you. All of our bodies are different. All of our souls are different. We are different. We've all got infinite potential is absolute fucking bollocks. We've got potential within our blueprint. There are things that I'm going to be naturally better at than you, and there's going to be things that you're naturally better at than me. And success comes from leveraging those things, not trying to be someone else. The more that you are you, the more that it's going to work better for you. And so when clients come and study business with me, they're always blown-minded, right? Because they say, what a relief, because we look at, you know, what's your marketing blueprint for you, for your soul? And to give an example is that Craig is very much like behind the scenes, working with very high performing men. He works with a lot of legacy families. If Craig had to run my business, he would be so miserable. I love this. I love social media. I love these events. I love teaching. I love certification programs. I love education. I'm a worker. I love work. Not everyone wants to work as much as I do. I love providing a service of excellence. There's so many things of my business model that make sense for me. I like to rest and I look after myself and all of those things as well. But ultimately, I'm not looking for a way to make as much money as possible in 2 years so I can retire, because I want to do this for the rest of my life. Because this gives me such deep, deep fulfillment, like deep fulfillment that I can't even express. Like, it makes me so like happy, on purpose, like clear, centered. You know, it just is, this is my life's work. And I'm so sure of it, right? That my model for business makes sense. So last year, we created a course that was just defining, well, it was actually this year, my God, Ty, February of this year, I created a course for people to do their blueprints in all of these areas. And clients started being like, what a relief. Like some of the clients cried out of relief because they're like, oh my God, I've been trying to do it this way and it was never meant for me. So the soul in manifestation is understanding we have a unique blueprint, and the function of the soul in manifestation is that we will experience things, right, that we don't desire on the way to what we do. And we have to know that, because if not, we see people that are manifestation teachers and they experience something in their life that's hard, and we go, oh, well, if they were a good manifestation teacher, they wouldn't be experiencing that. Yes, they fucking would. That's the path to what they want. But they're a human like you and me, and they have to experience this thing to give them a clarity that they couldn't have had prior. And it doesn't mean that they've gone wrong, and it doesn't mean that they're necessarily out of alignment, even though they could be, right? It just means that there is gold in that situation for them. A great teacher will be honest. If they ask honesty from you, they'll be honest themselves, and they'll say, I experienced this, I learned this, and it took me to that. And that's as simple as it has to be. Okay, I'm going to start winding today down. I'm jumping off to do a school run. It's been amazing. My name is Portuguese, but you're close. Don't worry about the pronunciation. Yay! Okay, Portuguese is relatively close. It is. Feeling you deeply, loves Tashi. Amazing. So true. I managed to do this in romance recently. I cleaned up a lot internally and unexpectedly attracted an incredible match with my conscious desires of love and relationship. Oh, I haven't heard about that, Kate, and I'm excited to. Okay, brilliant. So I'm actually just going to share a bit now about how we can continue working together. If you guys got yesterday's email, which I know some of you have because you've emailed back, like last night, Lucas is like, people are already emailing back, right? And I've messaged a few of you today. I'm going to share kind of the next recommended step that we've got. And you may have seen this in the email, okay? So one of the best ways, like one of the most comprehensive ways that we can work together is the Integrated Power Healer certification. This is basically the amalgamation of the last 13 years of my personal development work and training, not just my own internal work. I'm trained, right? People say this to me like, oh, she's a coach, she's probably not trained. And then I'm like, here are all the qualifications. Not that that means that I'm good, because lots of people are qualified and they're absolute fucking shit. Well, you're good is you're actually good in practice. But anyway, it's an amalgamation of all of the training that I've done, all of the modalities that I've used and distilled the best, right? And I've shared this with you. I've invested over $250,000 into personal development, and I am someone that applies, and I am someone that uses the training. So I'm not someone that disappears into the ethers and doesn't do something, right? And so I've distilled that into a Power Healer certification training, which is at 10% basically of what I paid, $25K. There is a payment plan option, $2,300 a month, right? And this is our most comprehensive multi-modality journey and multi-dimensional journey, where we go through all of the different modalities in every body. Now, the thing that I've got to say here is that people hear this and they go, well, I don't want to be a healer. And I'm like, yes, I know it says power healer, but 50% of our clients don't want to be coaches, right? They don't want to be healers. But they are people that are just committed to that higher standard, right? Because I work with top performers. I do, I really do. It's like it's the best. I love it because I'm going to give you excellence and you meet me in that. And that just makes me extremely joyful. Or people that are committed to becoming top performers, right? Either one's fine. So 50% of our clients don't want to be coaches, but they do want to go deeper. And they do want to have what's called a multidimensional rebirth. I know for more of my corporate people, you might not resonate with the word rebirth, but it's a multidimensional glow up, let's call it that. And Christy is one of my long-term clients. She's actually going to share on Monday. She was working in Zoom when Zoom was a 40-person company, and she was with Zoom President's Club running sales divisions. She's going to have to explain this better than I do, just to make sure it's full accuracy, until a couple of years ago, where she left Zoom and she realized, actually, although that experience had been instrumental for her, extraordinary, there was something else. And she's actually releasing her album on the, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say an exact date. She's releasing her album soon, okay? And so we've got people like that come from, you know, very, very highly successful jobs, or they want to get to a new level in success and they want to go as deep as possible, right? And then I've got people that are trained in one modality, but they know that there's more. And instead of spending the next decade studying a bazillion modalities, they just come and do the certification with us, right? And so you'll see on the certification page, for example, Clara, one of my clients, that was what she did. She knew a bit of mindset stuff, But when she did the certification, she got really solid in her transformational work. And now that's why she can sell things like 12K packages, because she's behind them. But you guys can go listen to her words, not mine, on the website, okay? Now, a couple of things that I'll say about this, and I'm not going to go on about it too much today. Tomorrow I'll speak to this more. I'm just going to give you like the things that are important, right? This is the only place to date that I go through the integrative healing system, the full map, all of the modalities, right, live. I no longer do this in any other place. And it's been upgraded for 2026 because I have been upgraded by 2006. Some of my clients have been with me for 5 years and they're like, Hannah, like, we're just going to stay with you because we know that you do all of this studying and you're doing all of this stuff and then you're always bringing it in and it's like, well, we're all growing together, right? But this is the only place, okay, that I actually go through this system live. First month is health, so physical body upgrades. We'll do comprehensive health analysis, we'll do hair tests, right? So you guys can get an objective idea of where you're at and where you can, you know, really get those kind of low-hanging fruit health improvements. Then we do emotional mental work for 3 months, soul work for 2 months, energy work and manifestation for 3 months, and then we close in health again to check the health tests and everything and integration, right? You also get access to all of the global uni blueprints, right? I've taught multidimensional blueprints for all of the areas of a life well lived, relationships, wealth, business, leadership. They're all fucking insane. Blueprint for soul. I'm not going to list them because I don't want to bore you, but you could go to the website and they're all listed there and you can ask me any question, right? If you bought everything in the certification separately, it'd be like 90 grand, right? But we bundle it and you'll see in everything that I do sales-wise is that because we've got so many resources, we bundle things and then put them at different prices. The VIP option is 30,000. That's where you get more support from me. And then there is a one-to-one gold upgrade at 120K, okay? And then we've got corporate packages where we put together actual things that will help with things like burnout, right? For example, or performance, whatever it is that company is looking for. So if you are someone that is in that space, that is looking for that, you can apply for it. We've only really got the space to take on 1 or 2, and that's application only. So just message me saying corporate, just that, and I will send you the application, okay? Same for the one-to-one, again, that's application only. Just message me, gold, and I will send you the application for one-to-one, right? But what's special about this is the bonus structure that we're doing. So I know lots of you guys are new to the way that we do things over here. The way that we work is that we give most bonuses to people that move first. Why? Because when there's a desire and we're able to cross that resistance to allow ourselves to have the thing that we want, right? Like that's pretty fucking impressive. So what we do is for the people that move first is that we incentivize with bonuses. So it's like there is a reason to cross that fear now instead of postponing it to either when the pain is too great, which is totally unnecessary, or to the last minute. We always have for every product and program like 2 minutes to midnight. Hannah, I want to join. I'm like, okay. So the bonuses is $1,250 off. So 1,250 off any of the packages, right? Would include the membership to the Global Uni until the end of the year, which includes 3 programs: performance, business, and energy. And when I tell you about the business program, for those of you guys that are business people, you're going to lose your minds, okay? For VIP, the bonus is that you would get VIP support, WhatsApp support, group support until end of January, right? And for the one-to-one, it would be 2 additional months, so 14 months instead of 12. Now, I know that it can be a lot of information, so in the email tonight, you're going to get the link and you can look through it, right? And on the Facebook group, I will post it so you can click on it and look through it. We'll go into this deeper tomorrow. I just want to make sure that you guys knew because I've already got a lot of questions in my messages. And then on Monday, Christy's going to be on a call when we do the Q&A. So you can ask me questions and you can ask Christy questions as well, which is good for you to get clarity. We've got to do homework, okay? And I'm going to say homework now. I think that's everything that I've got to share on this. Yeah. Okay, homework. Oh, final thing. Applications for calls. I have not done discovery calls ever really since 2021. Maybe 2021. I haven't done discovery calls because most of our people that purchase products and programs and choose mentorship with us are very self-led people. So they're just like, hello, I want this. Okay, cool. However, I understand a lot of you guys are either new to me or new to this, or you just want to feel that you're making the right choice. So if you do want to have a call with me, you can, again, same thing, apply via Facebook or email, and I will again send you an application. The calls are really, really only for serious people, right? It's not a free coaching call. It's not anything like that. It's really for those of you guys that are committed to this and you're trying to find the pathway for you, right? And so that's why there's the application. So you're welcome to do that as well, and everything will be written out, okay, in the text. So homework, pick one thing your mind categorizes as bad. Thank you, Lucas. Lucas has dropped that, the link into the chat. Amazing. I super appreciate that. We'll listen to the replay. My appointment went longer than expected. All good, Anita. Okay, perfect. Homework. Pick one bad thing. One thing that you're like, that is not what I wanted to happen. And however you feel around that, yeah? And the question is, how was this the perfect thing for your growth and your evolution? Do I offer a paid coaching call, like a one-to-one call? Do you mean? I take very, very few one-to-one clients, and I very, very rarely do one-to-one calls, especially single sessions, because I've found that transformation happens when there's time for transformation to happen. And this is why people that are in long-term memberships and mentorship usually get, not always the case, but they can get a result because there's time for things to come up to deal with it, for things to come up to deal with it. This being said, if there's something specific that you want, again, Facebook, ask the question, be specific, and I'll give you a clear answer, okay? So pick a bad thing. How is this the perfect thing for your growth and your evolution, right? What did you need to see, learn, or change within yourself through this experience? How are you going to do that? That's it. So I'll close out this live. I will put up the homework so it's written out. I'll put up all of the bonuses and everything that I spoke to just then. And I will see you guys in my messages. That's the easiest thing, okay? If you've got any specific questions around that. And I will get all the details in an email as well. Okay. It's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate how many of you guys stayed, even though we went over late. That is brilliant. Have a fantastic rest of the evening. And tomorrow, we are going to bring it all together. Okay? So tomorrow, you're going to go, all of this makes sense. Because until we kind of see what we do in the energetic, we still don't have the complete picture. You're so welcome, Sandra. You're so welcome, Kim. See you tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow's at a different time. It's at 11 a.m. CET. Okay? It's not at 3 p.m. It's 11 a.m. CET. Ciao, ciao, everyone.